What's it actually like to have tics or Tourette's disorder? Hi, my name's Dan and I'm incredibly uncomfortable. And I literally had to spend this Disney trip in a wheelchair. I don't think there is a situation where I was ever like, God, yes, I'm so glad I ticked right now. Can you control it? I don't know. I'm not gonna let that shit control me. I just can't get out of it. Like, it's just, you just have to. I am not a professional. I am not a medical professional. Do not take anything I say with any sort of, validity. Fight to live and have the life that you want and that you deserve. Oh boy, here we go. What's it actually like to have tics or Tourette's disorder? Well, it is your lucky day because, voila. Hey, what's up? I'm Dan. I have tic disorder, and today I am stepping out of my comfort zone. For those of you who may not know, tics are sudden, involuntary, repetitive movements or sounds, often starting in childhood, typically between ages 5 and 10, and are generally not super serious. Causes include genetic factors, neurodevelopmental issues, or stress, often preceded by a physical urge. Now, in my case, I only have tics, because to have Tourette's, which is something you've probably heard of, you need to have vocal tics. What I do have, though, is this, which is just one of my tics. But how serious actually is tic disorder? Well, over 1 million people in America have tics or Tourette's, but it's pretty much never spoken about. There are actually a bunch of celebrities that have spoken out about their tics in recent years though, with notable figures being musicians Billie Eilish and Lewis Capaldi, and actor Seth Rogen. One of my favorite stories is actually with Lewis Capaldi, who during a concert was having a tic attack during a performance of his popular song, Someone You Loved. He wasn't able to finish the song, so in a super sweet moment, his fans finished it for him. So anyway, why am I actually doing this? Why would I subject myself to a level of vulnerability that frankly I haven't had in ever? Well, to be honest with you, I do have some sort of platform, and even though this video may get 2 views, I feel like I might as well try to make a difference, try to talk to some kid who maybe is struggling with something that they have no idea how to deal with, and maybe seeing my dumb face will give them some hope as I try to explain what is going on and maybe how to deal with it. So reason number 2 that I'm doing this is that I've been struggling with my tics a lot more in recent months, and I kind of want to put myself under a microscope because that way I can't run away. I have to face it and really address it. Alright, so I asked a bunch of my followers and my family for questions that they think people would want to know or they themselves want to know about tics, and so let's see if I can answer them. When did your tics start? So I guess my tics started when I was in like 2nd grade, which fits the model of what I said before in terms of ages 5 to 10, when symptoms typically first emerge. So I was in like 2nd grade, and I guess my teacher noticed that I was doing this, like with my nose, kind of like my little, I don't know, that area, for pretty much no reason at all. And so she said something to my mom, and that kind of got the ball rolling. Fast forward a few years, and things had escalated in a pretty bad way. When I was in like 5th grade, we really didn't know what the was going on, and it was to the point where I think it was my birthday and I was tweaking out and I didn't know what was going on, and my family didn't know what was going on, and my dad said something to me like, do you want to go to the hospital? I don't know, it was crazy. Like, people don't know what to do with this. And so I didn't end up going, but I did end up having a bunch of tests run on me. I got tested for seizures. Like, it was crazy. We didn't know what was going on. So I'm in 5th grade, and I even started this special sort of therapy, which is an option, and basically in it, the therapist worked with me to identify, what caused it, what was the physical feeling, what were the little urges before and after and whatnot, just really sciencing that shit up. And it helped. I mean, it did, because you're looking at it through a really specific lens, but it was a lot. Like, I literally still have this workbook saved where I wrote that I would stare at a TV for like an hour at a time because I didn't want to do whatever my eye tic was at the time. Like, I was locked in. I had homework where it was I would record how long I went without ticking, and it required laser focus. It was kind of nuts, man. For a 11, 12-year-old kid, however old you are in 5th grade, it was a lot. I know this question was, when did my tics start? But I feel like it's better to just give you a timeline of all the various shit that I've been through, just because I feel like that'll explain things a little better. So jumping a bit again, I'm in 7th grade and I went on a Disney trip. The thing was though, I had a tic where my foot would literally drag against the floor. And so it would hurt. Like, I had real issues, and it was starting to affect me in a big way. And I literally had to spend this Disney trip in a wheelchair, which was insane looking back at it. Like, I don't know, as a kid, I didn't really understand it. It was just kind of like, I guess this is the way things are, and I'm still at Disney, so that's cool. But the reality was I was really hurting my foot and my ankle because I'm dragging it along like that hard against the floor. As I got into high school, I started to get a little bit of a better grip on it, and I even wrote my college essay about it because I did musicals in high school, and that is literally a spotlight in your face, you know, and I was, not to brag, you know, but I was a lead in these musicals, and so people had eyes on me. There was nowhere to run. There was nowhere to hide my face, especially because that's where they were. Part of it, and what I wrote my essay on, was embracing it. And we can get into that a little bit more and what I mean by embracing it. Fast forwarding to now, I am 23 and it still bothers me. They're not gone, and I'd love to say that I have this masterful control over them. Obviously I don't, which is part of the reason why I'm doing this video, but it is certainly something that makes me much less anxious or embarrassed than it did in the past. How do tics affect your life? To be honest with you, not much at this point in time. I mean, I have all my crazy face ones, which you'll probably see in this video. Honestly, I'm amazed I haven't really been doing it now. Maybe it's working. Maybe my whole point of doing this and I'm locking in. But no, I feel like at this point, tics don't really affect my life. I have people ask me every once in a while, you know, hey, what is that? Or I'm a coach, and so one of my players said, hey, like, do you have Tourette's? And, you know, on a quick exchange like that, I'm not going to be like, actually, I don't have Tourette's because... So I just said, yes, I do. And he said, cool. I'm like, great, you know, shout out the acceptance, buddy. But yeah, at this point, it doesn't really affect me much. There are some times when it is very frustrating, to be honest with you, where there are certain stressors that just like really activate it. And so I do feel a little bit of embarrassment in those moments, and maybe a little bit of physical pain, like especially with my eye ones. I feel like it gives me a headache sometimes, but mostly it's just annoying, to be honest with you, like especially when I record videos, all sorts of different videos, except for this one, I guess. It bothers me and it gets in the way, and anytime there's a break in me speaking, I'm just like tick, 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 tick. But as a whole, as a grown adult, you know, I've learned to manage them decently well, so doesn't bother me too much. And that's why I really feel for kids, you know, because you don't know what's happening and you don't know how to deal with it, alongside literally everything else in your life that you don't know how to deal with. And so it's just that added stressor that's tweaking you out. Great segue. Next question is, what causes them / stressors? So there are a few that I noticed. Honestly, one of the first that I noticed with myself, at least, was I was at a Brooklyn Nets game and the music was super loud, but most importantly, the lights were going, and there were all these like flashing lights and crazy colors, and it was just like this riled up energy. And I think, at least for me with my tics, it's like when there is that grand sense of energy in a space, that brings them out. So yeah, any sort of excitement like that, anger, stress in general, lights or sound, that usually brings them out when I'm nervous or when I'm recording videos, I guess, and I'm just very much in my own head. And I think that me doing my tics in those moments, like in between takes or whatever, is kind of my way of not resetting, but almost like managing that, which I don't really get, but I'm not a scientist, and so I'm just trying my best. What goes through your mind when you realize someone has just seen your tics for the first time? So this used to be a bigger deal for sure. I remember being a kid and playing football, and me and this kid were waiting for the next play to start, and a big thing with me, especially back then, was to try and do my tics when no one was looking. And I still do that for sure, and that's just second nature at this point, but it was bad. Like, it was one of my bad ones. And this kid saw me, and I think he said, like, "What the hell was that?" And I was like, I don't know, like, just trying to make up some random shit. And that was embarrassing. Like, that was really something that I struggled with. But it's not great. It's not super fun. I don't know. I feel like at this point in time, I am more open, more accepting of them as a part of me, and more so just like, yeah, I have this thing, and if you see them, then cool, you know? But yeah, overall, it's not like a great experience. It's not something that I actively love, but like most things, I think you get used to it, and especially as it's normalized in some way, shape, or form, which I'm gonna stop right there and just say that this isn't something that people should idolize in any way, shape, or form and be like, oh, you know, I have this tic, and it's just something I do sometimes. Like, number one, that's not a tic if you're saying it like that. But two, it sucks. You know, like, I don't think there is a situation where I was ever like, God, yes, I'm so glad I ticked right now. Like, that's just not a thing. That's not how it works. It's involuntary. That's a big part of the definition. It is involuntary. Do you know what's happening when it's happening? Kind of. Kind of. I don't know. Again, like, at this point in time, I've had it so many times, right? I've done it on multiple occasions, and so yeah, like, I know what's happening. But in a sense, like, let's break down ticking, right? So picture it kind of like an itch, where something is imagine like a feather, just like right against your face. You can't scratch it, and you're like, what is that? Like, what is that thing? It's kind of like that. It is an itch where you do this thing just to get rid of it. And it sucks because there is this very temporary satisfaction, and then it comes back. Like, and depending on the tic, maybe there are varying intervals of time where it comes back, but it's annoying and it's like an itch. And so you just gotta scratch that motherfucker. That's the way it feels. So yeah, to go back to the question though, I feel like sometimes there's not even time to really know what's happening. Like, it's involuntary, right? And sometimes you'll get that itch, and it's just boom, I have to scratch it. And so you do, and then sometimes you get caught up in a loop and you just do it again and again and again and again. In that situation, I wouldn't say that I don't know what's happening, but it's just kind of like I'm stuck in this cognitive loop where I have to do this thing. Does it hurt when it's happening? I feel like that depends on the tic. You know, like, I have one which I'm amazed. I don't even know if I've done it this entire recording, which is crazy, where I scrunch my entire face. Like, that's been my new one, which was actually my old one from when I was in like 5th grade. And I scrunch my entire face, and I wouldn't say that that necessarily hurts, but it's definitely discomfort. The one that hurt was my foot. That one hurt where I'm dragging that shit. But yeah, thankfully I haven't had ones where I'm in pain doing them. But it's definitely not fun. You know, it's definitely a level of discomfort, but I wouldn't necessarily say it is like pain, you know? Can you control it? I don't know. Kind of. Like, I feel like right now I'm pseudo controlling it, you know what I mean? But this is a big thing that I suppose I wanted to talk about, is that, at least for me, right, I've had enough bad tics in my life where I kind of made this binding vow with myself, where I said, okay, I have this thing and it keeps manifesting in various ways that are incredibly annoying, but in different ways in all different parts of my body, right? And I've had some really bad ones. And so I've said to myself, okay, as long as I'm not doing that, right? As long as I'm not dragging my foot, as long as I'm not hard clenching my face, those are the really bad ones. So as long as I avoid those, then the other smaller ones I can kind of live with. And so that's kind of the deal I made with the tic monster or whatever, where that's kind of how I've managed. And to be honest with you, maybe that's not the healthiest. Maybe I should go back to what I was doing in 5th grade and just be like, hey, I have to really diagnose what is going on, and the feelings in my body and the various body parts and whatnot, but that's a lot of work. It is, and that's very emotionally and physically taxing, which you probably wouldn't think it is, but it is, believe it or not. And so I haven't really been willing to do that. So I suppose in terms of my control, I let it happen to a certain degree. As long as it's within a certain parameter, then I'm kind of okay with it. And this is a big point. I think what gave me power for my tics was that I kind of accepted it as a part of me, and that seems super cliche and whatnot, and whatever, I'm not here to give this masterful advice. I'm just trying to be honest and give you any sort of knowledge that I may have. And so, I don't know, that's kind of worked for me, to be honest with you, is saying, yeah, this is a part of me in some way, shape, or form. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to fully kick it. And so how can I deal with it? How can I manage it? How can I feel less embarrassed and more confident in myself and be open and honest when somebody asks me about it? That's what I think it's all about in terms of moving your life forward, because it is a disorder, right? And there are people whose tics or Tourette's and whatever that controls their life. And I was never going to be someone who let that happen. And that's kind of ignorant to say because that makes it seem like a complete choice, which it's definitely not. There's some people who just cannot control it in the slightest, right? I am fortunate enough where I can, and so I'm not gonna let that control me. Can't you take medicine for it to make it stop? So I actually looked this up fairly recently. You kind of can. I don't want to say to make it stop though. There's not like a cure. It's kind of more so just like minimizing the effects, which is still good, and to be honest with you, maybe something that I look into down the line. Again, right now it's something that I manage, so I'm like, I don't really want to spend the money on that. I believe it does work in some way, shape, or form. There are varying medicines for that. I can pop something up on the screen. But yeah, I don't think there is a cure. I don't think there's something you can take and it's just like, oh, my tics are fully gone. I think it might help, but I don't think it just erases it completely. Oh, how does it feel when a tic comes on? I'm gonna keep using the itch analogy, to be honest with you. It literally feels like a part of your body, which I have a lot of ones in my eyes, right? So specifically my left eye, I'll feel something, it's just like something feels like it needs to move. It's kind of like the at-rest state of my face is wrong. I need to move it a little bit. And so sometimes I'll raise my eyebrows like that or whatnot just to reset it, I guess, which I don't know why. Again, I would love to know why, but I don't know why. And so again, it really is kind of like this itch, or that something needs to move in some way, shape, or form, and so you make it move. What can you do to quiet them? For me, it's kind of odd because I feel like varying things at varying times have worked to stop them. Like right now, perfect example, I am locked into recording this video. Now, I'm locked into recording all of my videos, but I tick the out when I do all of those videos, and in this one, I'm not. So couldn't tell you. I do think though that in my busier days, when I have a lot going on, where I don't even have time to think about that itch, again, I'm gonna keep referring it to like that, when I don't even have time to think about that itch, or when I'm really locked into a task or whatnot, it doesn't even, I've got priorities, you know what I mean? It's just like my brain doesn't worry about that. I feel like that's the biggest thing I can tell you is stay busy in some way, shape, or form. But of course you can't always stay busy, so figure out what works for you. Maybe it's listening to music, maybe it's closing your eyes, maybe it's massaging another part of your body. I don't know. I think everybody probably has their own ways to deal with it, and maybe mine are incredibly wrong, but you just gotta figure out what works for you, and that takes a lot of experimentation, unfortunately. Does your brain have a short circuit when it happens? It kind of does, especially when I'm caught in a loop and I'll be like, bam, bam, tick, 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 and I just can't get out of it. It's just, you just have to, you just have to do it. I don't know how else to describe it. Yeah, it kind of is like a short circuit where you're not even thinking. It's just stimulus, response, itch, itch tick. Like there's no thinking about it. So I guess that's kind of like a short circuit. But sometimes it's you feel the itch and you're like, oh, I don't want to do it, you know? Like and that's not a short circuit. That's very much you're cognitively aware of this thing and you end up doing it voluntary even though the feeling is involuntary. Oh, what's that?
I left my tea in here.
Okay. My last question. Why do you have them? I don't know. Is it hereditary? So I looked this up, and I'll put it up on the screen, I guess. Kind of, which is kind of funny because no one in my actual biological family has it, but my grandpa, who's like not really my grandpa, also has tics. And so it's kind of funny how that works. But yeah, it is hereditary, but I don't have anyone in my family, as far as I know, in my immediate family who has it. So yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what causes it. Maybe my neurons are all f***ed up in terms of how they line up in my brain. I don't know. There's probably a better answer for that. I don't know. I'll put it on the screen, but I am not a professional. I'm not a medical professional. Do not take anything I say with any sort of, validity. I believe under that same umbrella, but there is a strong correlation between, and again, I'll put up a statistic right here, I'm sure, but there is a strong correlation between having tics and I believe ADHD and OCD. Probably other shit, anything under the sun, but there is a correlation. So your depressions, your anxieties, your ADHDs, your OCD is probably the closest thing, but OCD isn't. Like tics are physical. That's a physical embodiment where like that's the whole shebang. OCD can have some physical embodiment. That's kind of the closest one, but it's not usually the same thing. So to conclude, my final statement, my final comment, I don't know if I have one, to be honest with you. I hope you learned something from this experience, from this little Q&A. Be yourself, man. Just don't let it control your fucking life. I know shit's hard and that's easier said than done. If your tics or Tourette's or whatever is with anything, with your mental illness, if anything is dominating your life in a very serious way, then yeah, get help, bro. Like there's no shame in talking to a professional. If anything is dominating your life like that, then yeah, get the help you need. Always get the help you need. And if it's not a medical professional, then lean on your friends, lean on your family, lean on your partner. Like that's what people are there for, and be open about it, To a certain extent, things are a part of you, and that's just how it goes. So learn to live with it, learn to adjust with it, but don't give up, don't just rot and sit and accept that your life is this way forever. No, like fight for it, fight to live and have the life that you want and that you deserve. I hope you learned literally anything. That was my experience with tics. Maybe I'll talk about this in more detail another time. I know this was just kind of a quick Q&A, but thanks so much for watching. I love you. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye. That's because in order to have Tourette's, you need to also have... Oh, that wasn't a tic. That was just me tweaking out.